Deebo Samuel restructured his deal, converted his base salary to signing bonus. Does this mean that he's now going to be here beyond this season, and they're going to have a Deebo Ayuk tandem for the long term?
Man, okay, it could. It definitely could, and I think that was the consensus, right? As soon as the deal was reworked, it's like, everybody that said Deebo's on his way out, what are you saying now? I just want to say this. Just because his deal was reworked, it doesn't mean that he's not on his way out. Now, I'm not saying he was ever for sure on his way out. It certainly felt that way if Ayuk got signed. You just looking at where you can cut money. Deebo made a lot of sense. But let's not forget that Eric Armstead, one day before the week 1 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was announced that he reworked his deal last year. Something very, very similar to what Deebo Samuel just did. And they didn't have any problems moving on from him this year. So it doesn't mean that Deebo is automatically saying just because his deal is reworked, there is a path to move on from him. It's not ideal, but it is something they could choose to do if they want to. I still think
but it makes it more difficult to do so.
It definitely does. It definitely does. But the question I have is, and I hate to even bring it up based off of what happened this weekend, but this is a real football conversation that has to happen here. It's not a Ricky Pearsall conversation necessarily, but it's the 49ers drafting a wide receiver in round 1. How disappointing would it be to draft any wide receiver? It doesn't matter who the player, just drafting that position round 1 when you had so many needs along this offensive line and quite frankly on the interior defensive line as well, in my opinion, long term. And now all of a sudden you rework Deebo, you sign Ayuk to a long-term deal, you add on years to Jawan Jennings' deal, and now this first-round pick, if Deebo comes back, really isn't playing, barring injury, for 2 full seasons. What is the point of that? I mean, talk about a waste of a pick. It wouldn't make any sense. So, listen, I love Deebo Samuel, but I think for the sake of them picking a receiver, it would be a really, really odd thing for them to do, to hang on to him, even if they did rework his deal.
Here's the way I interpret the 49ers. I don't think they're in lockstep about what they want to do. And that's what I think I picked up from my report that I put out yesterday, that the front office is sort of upset with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, despite giving them the green light to do whatever the hell they want to do. It seems like they're begrudgingly allowing Kyle and John to do whatever they want. And as time goes on, the pressure for them to prove that their decision-making leads to a championship gets higher. So I don't know. I think the organization, the front office, would like to move on from Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel. I think they feel that investing big money in 2 wide receivers is foolhardy. And I think there's probably a lot of evidence, math to back that up. But Kyle's a head coach, and it's his offense. He's precious about it. And he ultimately can overrule anyone, any analytics guy, Parag, whoever, bean counter. I want Deebo. I want Ayuk. And so if Kyle has the last say and Deebo's his best friend in the world, he might stick around for a while.
I mean, talk about making the same mistake twice. Now, it's not as detrimental as the first one was, because you didn't trade 3 first-round picks. But, you say you wanted to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's why you moved up to number 3. It didn't matter. Again, let's take the player out of it. Obviously, Trey Lance ended up being a bust and not working out. It seems that would have been the case with Fields or Mac Jones or any of them. But when you say you want to move on from a player and you spend that much capital to go get his replacement, and then you keep the player around that you want to move on from, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But now, a couple years later, just 3 years later, you finally get your first round pick back. Everybody's excited. And you go and make the same exact mistake drafting a wide receiver and then also taking all of your wide receivers and extending them in the same offseason? What sense does that make? Why would you make the same mistake twice?
Like, imagine if they had drafted Ricky Pearsall in round 1 and he hadn't pulled his hamstring or had a messed up shoulder. If he had like been really good, and then instead of Bernardo Green, who looks good, they had drafted Kingsley Suamataia, they may not have had to just capitulate to Ayuk and Trent Williams. It's. I mean, I think it's so obvious it's not what the organization wanted to do. They dragged their feet forever. They were begrudgingly giving those two players money last week, the last couple of days. And that's why they drafted Ricky Pearsall, because they wanted to have options. I'm thinking the front office would have appreciated if Kyle Shanahan drafted an offensive tackle too. And I'm guessing that when Trent Williams held out, that the Niners were actually surprised.
I don't know how you're surprised by that. I mean, when you have Eric Armstead on the team, who's in a very similar situation to both CMC and Trent Williams, and the fact that you wanted him to take a pay cut because he really didn't have guaranteed money left. A veteran on this team, a guy who's reworked his deal, and you see that happen with Eric Armstead. You don't think the veteran players take notice of that and are like, whoa, hold on. So I'm one injury away from being in the same position here? No. Give me my guaranteed money. I'm not playing another down until I get it. I got to protect myself. And Trent Williams was very open about that he needed to protect himself just in case something happened. Listen, I'm 36 years old. I know Father Time's undefeated. I feel great right now. I do think I can play until I'm 40, but just in case, I need my guaranteed money. That's what it was about. And when you see an organization do that with a player of your own and Eric Armstead, it now becomes very obvious that you got to make business decisions. And that's what CMC and Trent Williams did. I don't know how you didn't see that coming as a possibility.
Also, I think we may have underestimated the impact on the locker room that cutting Eric Armstead may have had. Like, he was the longest tenured player on the team. He was a captain. He was a Walter Payton Man of the Year award finalist. He had a lot of respect in the locker room. And there was a group interview with Jawan Jennings yesterday. And he was saying something in passing. I can post it. He said, like, we got the whole team back. Because they signed Trent and Ayuk, and he kind of said, like, except Double A. I was like, who's Double A? He's an important member of this team. Maybe he's breaking down. When they cut him, I thought that was a smart move, but I'm curious to see what that does to the locker room, because there were few players in the team that were more popular than him.
Yeah, that's true. He was definitely a leader. I mean, he was a captain for a good reason. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think that they have a lot of really good leaders in that locker room. I think they'll be okay. But, it's just one extra thing that makes this thing interesting going into the season.
Dave Barclay says, #trade Kyle. Time to get this hashtag going. They haven't lost a game yet, but I like where your head's at. Dave Barclay says, please let Mason show out against the Jets. Dave Barclay says, right, Jesse. I was just going to bring up Armstead. Fish and Chip says, Italian-style chest hair for the ladies.
It's hamburger meat.
Yeah, some people think that this show is just for guys talking about football. No, this is definitely for the ladies. Dave Barclay says, Dollar Tree specials. Grant, nice shirt. No, this is definitely Banana Republic outlet. Thank you very much.
I was going to say Express, actually. It looked very Express.
Dave Barclay says, Grant got called Vanilla Ice. Now he's going all in.
It's more Miami Vice than Vanilla Ice.
Hamburger meat all hanging out, says Dave Barclay.
There we go.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'm Jewish and Italian. There's not a more hairy combination.
It's true.
It's like hair multiplied by hair. Dave Barclay says, Grant, Rob Ross with no fro. Happy little tree here. Is it not? It's not Rob. It's Bob Ross.
Bob Ross, yeah.
GTC Real says, Grant showing taco meat on a live is wild.
This is the energy we needed
Niners says,
for a
I'll
week one game.
$10 if y'all go through all 16 games real quick and help me pick winners for Pick'em's League, Grant. You could even make a Bet US promo, LOL. 16 games, all Niner. What is this, 2020? What is this, 2017? What are you talking about? 16? No.
No. He's talking about the game. He's talking about the games this week. All the NFL games. He wants us to
God.
make a pick 'em, not the 49ers games.
Yeah, but you didn't donate 10 though. You didn't donate 10 though. You donated 5. Dave Barclay says you should read chat. Grant's looks are killing it. Purdy, Deebo, and Hargraves for Josh Allen. You're welcome, Jade. Yes, sure.
Oh, I wish.
Sure, absolutely. Okay.